The 2025 MotoGP season is now so close to being here. During the winter break, us fans have been starving for any information we can get. And finally, we have our hands on every single team presentation. And with that, every single livery for the 2025 MotoGP season. So today, I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on all of them and ranking every MotoGP livery for 2025 from the worst to the best. I'm B, this is the Beehive Paddock, and I'm sick. So if I look a little more pale than usual, or if my voice sounds a little hoarse, that's why, and I apologize in advance. Remember to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to stay informed, and let's get into the video. Alright, let's get this one out of the way. Just like last time I ranked every MotoGP livery, Tech 3 disappoints by just copying KTM's bike. Now listen, I get it. I get what KTM's going for. Ooh, we have 4 factory bikes. Be scared of us. That's kind of cool, but if I have to play Spot the Difference to tell your bike apart from the factory bike, I'm still a little bit disappointed. I mean, you had 2 bikes to do whatever you wanted with, and you couldn't come up with anything. What makes it even worse is that Tech 3 KTM has one of my favorite liveries of all time in their history. And even if they didn't bring this one back, you still have the blue and orange livery from 2018 and 2019, which I've been informed are Toro Rosso colors. So could have used those. That would have been better than just cheating off KTM's homework. But no, just a carbon copy of the same Red Bull livery as usual. If you don't agree with my placement of this, just pretend it's where the factory bikes are. I'm giving this a you didn't even try out of 10. By now you've noticed these polls popping up in the top corner of the screen. I posted a community post after every team presentation asking what you all thought about the livery. Of all the polls, this one was by far the most divisive, which is maybe unsurprising considering anything involving this man is pretty controversial. But yeah, this livery isn't great. They pushed the neon yellow forward even more, so now it's less than half the bike, and the rest is just plain white. The only details from this livery are these big sponsor bars that look like pop-up ads on the bottom of an old YouTube video. These are so ugly. They clash with the colors a ton, and I know what people are going to say, but the sponsors, they have deals where they need to have certain background colors.
I don't care. I do not care.
Lastly, the most controversial part of this livery by far, the number. Yeah, so there's a silhouette of Rossi's iconic 46 behind the numbers for each rider. While this is annoying, I've seen a lot of people acting like this is the end of days and Rossi's ego is going to kill the team. I don't know, it sucks, but like it's not horrible. I don't think that it's actually going to impact the readability of the numbers in any meaningful way, and frankly, I'm just grateful that it's not as bad as the tribute livery from last year. That was atrocious. 4 out of 10. Honestly, I'm not really a big fan of the direction Aprilia's been going with their liveries in recent years. They seem to be just taking more and more color out of their liveries each and every year. At this point, the bike just looks like a factory bike that has chicken pox. I mean, call me crazy, I don't think the most detailed part of your bike should be the sponsors. Am I missing something? Am I crazy? I mean, people clearly like this. I mean, maybe it's just me. I don't know, I just want the watermelon livery back. It's like a 5 out of 10, but like a low 5 out of 10. Welcome back, Suzuki! I liked this livery quite a bit when it was first revealed, and as I've looked at it more and more, I don't like it as much. I think it's way better than the other stuff we've talked about so far, don't get me wrong, but it's far from perfect. One thing I will say about this livery that I like is I've seen a lot of people complaining about the lack of sponsors on this livery, and I wholeheartedly disagree. I think this looks so clean with almost no sponsors on it. Although I do think that replacing this neon yellow with Gulf orange would probably look better. I think I would probably like that a little more. Or even if the yellow was just a little less neon. This is not 2015. You are not Valentino Rossi. Please. I quite like the placement of these bars, both the horizontal and vertical ones. I think it creates some solid details throughout the livery. I've never really been a fan of this front wing from Aprilia. I just don't think it looks good, and I think choosing to go all black with it with the bright blue letters really draws a little too much attention to it for me. Now, with all that being said, Trackhouse has said that they're going to play with this livery multiple times throughout the year, which I'm very excited for. The livery they brought to the Sepang test would literally be number 1 on this list for me. No question, I liked it that much. So this clearly has a ton of potential, I just feel like it's not being fully utilized here. But for a team trying to find their new identity, I think it's a great starting point. A high 6 out of 10. Maybe I'm just so used to the Red Bull logo by now that this is just boring to me, but this is a very middle of the road livery for me this year. It's still a clean looking bike, don't get me wrong. The black mixed with the warm oranges, yellows, and reds is always going to look good. I like the giant Red Bull logo, I like the big orange block with the KTM logo in it, but I just wish there was a little more going on. Maybe a little more orange? I don't know, I'm not a graphic designer, don't ask me what to do, I just says what I sees. And here, I sees a solid livery, worthy of a 7 out of 10. Gresini had my absolute favorite MotoGP livery last year. Cool blue, almost gray color is gorgeous, and it meshes surprisingly well with the Ducati red. So why the hell did they go and slap chrome all over it? I'll give you this, it looks way better on the track than it did in the studio photos, but oh my god, when I first saw this, I had a visceral reaction. Get it away, get it out. It doesn't help that in some of the studio pictures, the chrome literally looks like a poorly applied decal. This could just be the lighting or the angle of the bike, but ugh. I still like everything else. The cool blue is still amazing. The sponsor bars are a little more intrusive because now the red doesn't match anything on the bike, but they're not as bad as VR46. Also, is it just me or did the chrome make the yellow bars on the front fairing look like way more noticeable? Like I barely even noticed these last year. I actually had to go back and check and see if they were there. But now they stick out like a sore thumb to me for some reason. Can someone who knows color theory explain that to me? I don't get it. Anyway, solid livery, but pretty much a straight downgrade from last year. 7 out of 10. Next up is factory Yamaha. Yamaha made their livery way better this year with one simple trick. They just made the whole top part blue. It really was that simple, and that's all I need. Just give me that good old Yamaha blue from my childhood, and I'm set. Not a whole lot else to say here. This monster logo is really annoying. I'm pretty sure they're one of the companies that insist on having a black background, and that's why it looks like this, but it looks bad. Cliff notes are, just add more blue. We're moving in the right direction. 7 out of 10. Sorry to all the Chantra fans out there, but this is the highest this bike is placing all year long. This is another livery I think is a direct upgrade from last year. They toned down the black, made the red more prominent, and now it looks way cleaner. I like the way the black on the front fairing sort of like sticks to the top and flows along the gas tank to the seat, although I will say I think I would prefer just a straight red front fairing here. One thing I would like to see in the future is a little more gold. I think they could do something interesting with that, and it seems it's only relegated to these tiny details on the front fairing, which at that point, just get rid of it entirely. These don't add anything to the bike. Not much else to say here though, just a good, clean looking bike. 8 out of 10. Pramac faced an interesting challenge this year. How to incorporate Yamaha into their livery. Pramac has been partnered with Ducati for over 20 years at this point, and after a long and successful partnership, are making the switch to the Japanese manufacturer this year. But how do they make their bike look more Yamaha? Easy, just throw some blue in there. This works surprisingly well. The combination of purple and blue is really solid. I will say, I think I'd prefer if there wasn't any black. Look at the way the purple and blue come together on the front fairing. Mwah, that's beautiful, chef's kiss. Now imagine that across the whole bike. The Alpine logo is perfectly angled with this blue section, which I think is a very nice touch. And thankfully the logo itself is just white on the livery and doesn't detract from the design at all. Solid livery all around. I can't wait to see this one get like 5 minutes of screen time total this year. Solid 8 out of 10. So this bike got the highest amount of good ratings in the polls, and I can see why. My only complaint with last year's livery from this team was that I never got to see it because it was at the back all the time. Someone commented Q1 never looked so good, and that made me laugh. I just thought that was funny. Alright, enough trashing on this team. The livery is great. Sure, it does kind of look like a candy cane, but the color scheme works really well. And since it's the color scheme of the title sponsor, there's no awkward clashing. The paintbrush stroke style on the red and the green surprisingly works for me. It's not something I think I would usually like. My only complaint is that I wish this main green section here on the body had thinner hairs, brush strokes, tongs. What are these things? It just feels a little hollow, I guess is the word. It feels like there's a little too much white. They could have some more color in there. Overall, I'm feeling a strong 8 to a light 9 on this livery. Ducati didn't change much here. and they didn't have to. The only difference I really noticed is the placement of the shades of red, which a lot of people like the movement of this lighter red. I don't, but it doesn't bother me enough to change my rating. This bike has been gorgeous for years, and I feel like I'll look back on this livery the same way I look back on classic Yamaha and Honda liveries I watched growing up. Representative of an entire era. My only question is, why the hell does Lenovo insist on a black background? The main logo they use has a red background. Do you know how clean this bike would look if it was just the white letters, the white Lenovo letters on the red, like maybe even on that light red strip? That would be so clean. That would be a 10 out of 10, like easily. But no, instead we get a giant black rectangle. Whatever, man. Still Ducati, still classic, still a 9 out of 10. It was a really difficult choice for me between Honda and Ducati for the #1 spot this year, but I chose to reward innovation. After all, Repsol Honda is one of the most iconic liveries in all of motorsports. 30 years, dozens of championships across many disciplines. How do you follow that up? Easy. Throw it back to the 80s. Inspired by classic HRC designs, Honda's red, white, and blue makes a triumphant return in 2025. The way the white and blue flows from the front to the back of the bike just works so well for me. I do have some nitpicks, maybe a little too much red, the green on the Castrol logo does clash, and the riders' chosen colors for their numbers aren't great with the livery, but I just don't care for some reason. I remember Stefan Bradl riding a similar bike to this at the last round of the 2024 season, and I remember thinking, man, I would love if they did something like this next year. And well, look at that. They did something like that, and I love it. Seeing this livery just does something to me, and it looks even better out on the track. If I ever actually get to see it in a race, I'll be thrilled. 9 out of 10, and I suspect it's only going to get better from here. Well, those were my takes. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree in the comments down below. Drop a like, subscribe, interact with this video to get it out into the YouTube algorithm, and if you want to support the channel even further, be like my amazing channel members, Venturian CRO and MVP2112, and join the channel. Always remember that eating a polar bear's liver will cause you to overdose on vitamin A, and have a fantastic day. Oh, that rhymed.